Imagine being able to control your entire computer with just a few simple commands. Sounds like superpower, right? Well, that's exactly what PowerShell lets you do. In this video, we're going to dive into how PowerShell works, and by the end, you'll be writing your first commands to make Windows system more secure. So let's start by opening up PowerShell. You can do that in the Start menu and search for PowerShell. So that's all together, PowerShell, and run it as administrator. If you run it as administrator, you won't be limited with any commands you type. So it might solve some hiccups. So run it as Windows administrator. You'll see this pop up and click yes. Then you'll see this screen where it says My Windows PowerShell. So you know that it's running. You'll see the PowerShell interface. You'll see PS and then the folder that you're currently in. So in this case, we're in Windows System 32. Now, this may look simple, but this is where all the magic happens. In this window, you can type commands and interact with your computer. Think of it like texting your computer to do things for you. So let's enlarge this window. So let's start with a simple command. So we can start with the command get-net IP address and hit enter. So if you type this command, it will show you the IP addresses of your computer. That's like your computer's identity of the network. So you'll see different network cards here. Let's see, Ethernet, different address, different cards. And you'll also see these addresses. So number. And you'll see another one here. Now this is the loopback device, so that one isn't actual out-facing. And you'll see some number like this, 192.168, or perhaps 10.10. something, which is your local network address, your address, IP address in the home network. So that's like your home address of your computer. So it's very important in cybersecurity tasks, because if you know your IP address, then you might check firewall, do network scans, or check if there's any ports open. So the IP address is very important in cybersecurity. And with this command, you can figure out what is your IP address of your computer. It's a bit like the home address of your computer. Now, if you have some command in PowerShell and you're not quite sure what it means, you can add in front of it the get-help, and it will tell you what the command does. So if we run this, we'll get a little description. So it tells you get the IP address configuration for this command. So you just add get-help in front and then the command you want to know about. And it will tell you the description of what it does. There's an online version as well if you want to browse that. So you can do that with any command and it will tell you briefly what it does. So this is a nice little trick. So when you can dig deeper into a topic, you'll see this link and just also related ones. And so it's a very useful command to see more information. Now, in your computer, there's a lot of apps running, a lot of processes. Now, these processes, how do you know what is running and what is not running? So in the PowerShell, there's a command called get-process. We run that command, get-process. You'll see it outputs all the processes running in the computer. Any program running right now. You see many different programs are running. You see process name. Every process has a unique identifier, so a unique number that identifies the process. So in computers, they do everything with numbers. So every process has a unique ID or unique, let's say, batch number. If you have a card, you might have a batch number, or if you're a customer somewhere, you have a customer number. In the same way, processes have their process number or the process ID. For example, here we have the process in Explorer, and the ID is 2844. Or if we scroll down, we'll see another process is like WinInit, and the process ID is 672. Now sometimes there's multiple times it appears. That's because a process is started from a program. For example, in Edge or Chrome or any browser, you can open multiple tabs, and these tabs often open as unique processes. That's a little workaround that the programmers did, so that if a tab crashes, not the entire browser crashes. So it's sort of a workaround, but in most of the cases, every process has a unique identifier. And sometimes a process, as you see with Edge, there are multiple processes for an app where it has unique IDs. So that's because they use tabs, and then if one tab crashes, yeah, it keeps running. Now, it's quite useful. Now, there's another command that's very interesting for cybersecurity, which is get net TCP connection. So this command shows you all the open network connections. So if any hacker is connected to your computer, it will show in that list. So we can type the command get -net TCP connection. So that's this command. And it will output any network connections that you have right now. If you press enter, you'll see local address, local port, and here remote address and remote port. You'll see the state. So if it's listening, it's waiting for a connection to come in. If it's established, it means there's a connection right now. So we have one connection right now. It's established to this address. And you'll also see the owning process, so which process is involved in that connection. In this case, process 3268. Now, if we were to open the browser or any network application, so let's say we open the browser and we go to any web page, it doesn't matter which, we can check again the get net TCP connection. So if we clear this and check again, and now you'll see more connections. Established internet, you'll see all these addresses. That's because our computer is connecting to that website, and the website often makes connections to many different other sites. So you see all these addresses with the established internet, and you'll see the process ID here. So that's 3628. And these process IDs are always unique. However, we can look them up. So in this case, if we go to get process and search for 6728, we'll likely find the Edge browser. So I run the commands. And if we search for Edge, we'll see here 6728. So that's Edge. So that's the browser we know now is connecting to a lot of internet addresses. So the command get net TCP connection you can use together with get process to find out, okay, we have all these connections, but where are they coming from? So you can, sometimes you can catch a hacker that way or malware that you see, okay, you have some connections there from some process that you don't know what is that process. So that might be very suspicious. It's a very good cybersecurity command. So this tells you the network address is it's connected to. So this tab, you'll see remote address. You can ignore 0000. This address is just a nonsense address. So if you scroll down, anything with numbers, those are real addresses. Then you'll also see these ports. So the remote ports, it's what is connected to. So you can sort of see this like you have two people connecting, and yeah, in which way they communicate or in which port. So they can be different numbers. It might be 443, it can be port 80, it can be any number basically. So every connection has its own port, and that's like the communication line that they use for communicating. For example, you can communicate with a person via email, cell phone, and many other ways. So every communication method has its own port. Then you see the stains. So if it's listening, it's just waiting for a connection. So these applications, they're listening for connections on these ports. And if it's established, then you know there's an actual connection. So the most interesting usually is the established one, that you see which connections are currently happening. Now, there's another information you can check on using PowerShell, which is the information on events. So Windows reports everything, and you can check out any security events. Now, this can be quite a long list depending on what happened on your computer. You can type get-event log name, and then type security. And if you hit enter, it will tell you all these security events that happened on your computer. So let's see, I press enter, and we get this huge list of all the events, all the security related events that happened on the computer. So anything security related, like someone logging in, logging out, a new user being edited, and such kind of things, any Windows security related things. So we can now see this huge list. And sometimes this command line interface, it is really powerful. In other times, it can be overwhelming. For example, with this kind of log information, we can't really search easily through it or click through it. So for Windows events, you might want to use the graphical event manager instead. But sometimes it can be more powerful or faster to use the Windows PowerShell. And also Windows PowerShell allows you to automate things. So you can make your own programs that do a lot of security related things with just one command. So PowerShell can be really powerful.